It's probably not appropriate for me to start this one off with the peace greeting, so I will refrain from that for the sake of not doing or saying something hypocritical. But I'm not upset with you guys. It's not that, for the most part. Um, no more than I usually am at us for making things too easy. And one of the things that I'm going to have to congratulate you guys for is your willingness to stop doing that and to make things more difficult, even going against the culture. And it's the Black Manosphere that's doing that. Now, there are more and more Muslims every day that believe that Muslim men have no business listening to anything in the manosphere, any manosphere. And I would go out on a limb and say to Muslims of any race, you probably will be taking a gamble listening to the white manosphere, because the white manosphere oftentimes is far right. And I'm sorry, but far right is not actually the right way to go according to the rules of our religion. You're not allowed to side with the oppressor. The white manosphere does not give a rat's ass about justice or oppression. As a matter of fact, it favors oppression. The white manosphere is most likely to support Elon Musk when he says that empathy has been one of our weaknesses, when the fact is that empathy is the reason that his ass was able to become a naturalized U.S. citizen after being a Dutch South African that benefited directly from the oppression of real South Africans. It's the wrong kind of empathy. So what he means is that actually moral, justifiable empathy is a weakness. He didn't mean that the empathy that oppressors feel for each other is a weakness. That's that white shit. And that's why it is that I tell a lot of you that are Muslim, whatever your race is, if you're going to listen to the manosphere because you can see the gender oppression that goes on in the West, the misandry that goes on in the West, and that is creeping into even your parents' ancestral homelands, then you should be listening to the Black Manosphere. When it comes down to race, black is right, white is wrong. I mean, in terms of racial conflicts, not racial existence, but racial conflicts. And if you side with white folk, your ass is wrong. And if you normalize white racial understanding of the world, your ass is wrong. You see now why I started this one without the peace greeting. And if you claim that there is no God but Allah and that Muhammad is his slave and his messenger, and that he confirmed the other prophets that came before him, then either you don't know what the prophets preached or you're a dumbass hypocrite. Once you side with the oppressor, you cannot make this claim, which is the testimony of our faith, then side with oppressors over those whom they oppress and be consistent unless you're really that stupid. And there are people that are that dumb. A lot of people, men and women alike, that are that goddamn stupid. But if you're not one of them, if you are not going to sit up and say that you're stupid, and stupid people don't know they're stupid. So if you can sit up and not say that you're stupid and say that you are not stupid, fine. Hey, dummy, you're going to have to learn to side with the oppressed against their oppressors. Not necessarily because you love everything about those who are being oppressed, but because oppression automatically makes the oppressor inferior. It's wrong. Some people have asked me why it is that I don't treat whites equal to black folk collectively. Well, I do on an individual level. But collectively, I'm not going to treat their societies equal to ours. I don't treat Arab society like it's equal to black societies for the most part, because there are things they will say as jokes and they don't even hate us. But there's still things they will say as jokes about us. They don't tolerate being said about them. That means they're giving us their good deeds. So when you give somebody your good deeds, which is what you do when you backbite or slander someone or even insult somebody, guess what you're doing? You give them their good deeds. That means you're sitting up making them better than you because you verbally oppressed them. It's not that big a deal at first. It takes a while for attitudes to catch up, but eventually that does happen. By the time it happens in action, no longer just in words, you've already made the person that you've talked against superior to you morally because of all the good deeds you did that you gave to them and all the bad deeds they did that you took from them on your account. And that's when you start talking bad against someone for stuff they didn't do. Or even in a wrong context for things that they actually did. So no, since everybody feels like it's okay to make jokes about black folks' noses, lips, hair texture, and skin color and all this other stuff. So everybody feels like it's okay to make jokes about that. And then guess what? We wind up being superior. We were not born that way. God did not make us that way. Everyone else did by siding with the oppressor against the oppressed. The Aryans are never going to be the moral equal of the Dalits they oppressed. They're not going to be that. Not the ones that went into India. Now, it wasn't all the Aryans that went in. It was a contingent of them that went in. But the one thing they took with them from their Aryan homeland was the attitude of lighter skin being superior. That's the one thing they took, and it survived up until now. And people want to sit up and tell me that there's no such thing as a devil. The existence of white supremacy and all of its offshoots, which I'll call colorism is one of them, is proof to me that there is a devil. But let's get back to this issue at hand. If you're Muslim, and this is about the Black Manosphere, if you're Muslim, especially if you are a Black Muslim in the West, you will know, once you learn what the Black Manosphere is really talking about, you will know that while the Black Manosphere is not the correct religion, so to speak, it's not even a religion. The people in the Black Manosphere will tell you it's not a religion. But you will understand that what we have in our religion is oftentimes most supported in the Black Manosphere because guess what? The nigger culture against which we preach religiously, include my red ass, is most opposed by Muslims that used to be niggers and became Muslims. I don't mean they deracialized and deracinated. I mean they stopped being niggers and they became black. They became African. They became the creation of God that resembles Adam. May Allah grant him peace. And Eve, may Allah be pleased with her. That's what I'm referring to. When somebody leaves that nigger mindset and becomes Muslim, there are certain things they want to see other black folk leave behind too, all that nigger BS. That's why I started talking about the so-called Malcolm X standard of reform. You could call it the Malik al-Shabazz standard of reform. The point is, it is in fact a standard of reform that even many reformed black folks don't take up because they don't want to be nerds. And while I am not in favor of being socially awkward, especially artificially, I'm not in favor of that, and I'm not about to be. The fact is that most intellectual black men are not the stereotype that Urkel was used to flesh out on TV in front of us. That's the true fact of it. Every time a black man picks up a book, he doesn't slouch over and start wearing suspenders and have no fashion sense and no social graces at all and become like Urkel and have the most irritating voice he could possibly come with. That's not true just because a black man cracks a book and learns something. And sisters know that. And we've had to take that and push that off to the side. And that's what the Black Manosphere is oftentimes, that's what the Black Manosphere is encouraging. And that's why when we have some people that listen to the Black Manosphere and then they begin to contribute, but they're illiterate or negliterate, they're not really taking that seriously. They may agree with us, but their points are not taken as seriously as they would be if they could spell them correctly. And that's the end of it. So with this being said, the Black Manosphere is where Nick culture is being opposed right now. It's been opposed by Muslims that are black. That's already been the case. I wouldn't say that it's really been that successful, but if you want to see some new boldness, this is where those of us that are Muslim can learn something from the Black Manosphere, which is not wrong in our religion, and that is the boldness with which to confront this no good ass backwards nigger culture. We've been soft trying to convince people to uplift themselves. The Black Manosphere is like, look, damn it, if you are going to follow this nigger culture, we will move forward and leave your ass behind. And if they grab you and throw you in a concentration camp or a plantation, so goddamn be it. We told your ass to wake up now. Marcus told us to wake up a century ago. And he wasn't the first, nor was he the last. Edward Wilmot Blyden who died as a Muslim, told us to wake up. And the real truth of the matter is that we have some people telling us even now to wake up, and there have been large swaths of us that have decided that they're not going to do it. And we're now finally saying, if you will not do it, you can stay behind. And a lot of times what's happening is that the sisters are not really against themselves being woke, but they still want to sexually reward only brothers that ain't awake. They still want to sexually reward and sexually limit themselves, especially reproduction, only to niggas. Knuckle dragging ass, stereotypical ass, banana peeling ass niggas. I don't view black men this way, but they only want to limit their reproduction to black men who view themselves that way. And even if a sister's got the head wrap and all the crystals and all this fake consciousness, because it is fake if that's who she wants to screw and smash, and that's the only one that gets to shoot the club up and actually impregnate her. If she's only going to go as far as reproduction and delivering a living baby to term, with a guy like that, her consciousness is fake. And many of us are coming to the understanding that we're going to have to leave behind most sisters. And since celibacy is not normal and natural, especially as a lifetime commitment, then that means that our reproduction is going to have to be with someone else. Most of us still favor sisters. That's why you got bros going to Thailand. And what do? They look for that dark-skinned Thai woman and spoil her. She spoils them back. And that's something I had to learn. I once said that brothers were going to ruin, or I said that brothers could contribute to the ruin of these places. I don't mean that brothers can single-handedly go to these places and ruin them. We don't have that kind of population. I don't want brothers to ruin the chances for other brothers. That's what it is. I don't want brothers going to these places unprepared because we have been femininity starved. And then because a prostitute can act feminine and trick you, now you set things up to where the next brother that comes in gets chased after by women that are streetwalkers and box vendors. They just have to act like they're not box vendors. I don't want box vendors who want to pretend like they're not that to start targeting American or African brothers, for that matter, or Caribbean brothers. I don't want them targeting any nationality of black men for the foolishness and for the mask and the wool. Because we're femininity starved. You got brothers coming out of African countries that are femininity starved. They might land in Thailand somewhere. I don't want women like that going after those men. If he's a Kenyan, if he's from Turks and Caicos, if he's a black Colombian, if he's an African American, if he is a Jamaican or a Haitian, and he's over there, I don't want us being targeted by those types of women. I'm not looking for that for you. And one of the reasons I tell you about male chastity is so that you can bypass all of that. That's one of the reasons I tell you that. It's not that I think you can go and ruin the environments. Amr Muttab said that stuff with his fake ass. Talking about you niggers are ruining Colombia. And he said it with the hard R. And he admits he has black blood because he's Egyptian with his Botox injected lips, which is something that in the Arab world women do, not men, by the way. But he'll sit up and say that black men went to Colombia and ruined it. We don't have the numbers for that. So either we have more power than our numbers, which could be a good or bad thing, or what's going on is not really that black men have ruined the environments for everybody. It has been that black men have ruined the environments for black men. And you're ticked off because these women have looked and seen, well, you know what, if I'm going to act like I'm not a box vendor, then I'm going to go after these guys because if they don't know that I'm a box vendor, they'll actually treat me better. Whereas in your case, you will assume I'm a box vendor just because I'm from here. See, when brothers go to these places, we will do something that is right and it could be used against us, but it's still right. We will go somewhere and we will refuse to make the worst assumptions about a woman in her own country. We will refuse to do that. White guys will go over there and they'll make the absolute worst assumptions about these women in their home countries. Both of them are unbalanced. The difference is that because we're being nicer, the women that are actually trying to front like they're not box vendors so as to get out of that lifestyle or to get more out of it are going to come after us. It makes sense from their standpoint that they would seek brothers out anyway. If we're going there and we're not going to assume the worst about them, we're not going to assume that they're the barefoot, uneducated peasants just trying to get a better life at our expense. We don't assume that as readily as Master Charlie's grandsons will, then that's what the hell happens. So that's how they're going to, of course, it makes sense from their standpoint. They'll pick brothers out. But I'm going to tell y'all now, man, I didn't mean to say that we're ruining the environment for everybody. I meant to say that we might ruin it for each other. Because we are distinct. Black folks of different nationalities are distinct from each other even, so we're damn sure distinct from people that are coming from other races in good and bad ways alike. I mean, Nigerian men have to confront this at this point because Nigerian men and women have to confront this at this point because they're now beginning to say, wait a minute, why is it that even in Africa, people are starting to kick us out now? The Ghanaians want us gone. And we've always had cross migration between Ghana and Nigeria. Now they want us gone. They're sick and tired of us. What's going on? What are we doing? And there've been some Nigerians that have gone and looked and said, look what you Nigerians were saying in the comments section. You're bragging about how you ruin and disregard laws in other places. You brag about how you take over the taxi industry in South Africa with illegal taxis, unregistered, unlicensed. You brag about how you shot the South Africans that came in and try to put a stop to that mess. You brag about how you don't respect nothing and no one. And now people are getting sick and tired of you. We're going to have to stop acting like it's just everybody being against us. No, we're doing something wrong. You already got Nigerians sitting up and saying that they can be distinct in good or bad ways. Because whatever it is that they tend to do, they tend to go into 400%. Black folk tend to go into whatever it is we go into 200%. Nigerians tend to go into a 300 and 400%. So if they're scamming, 400%. If it's engineering or medicine, 400%. Whatever it is, good or bad, they go into it 400%. It makes them unique in that regard. Out of the Caribbeans, it's the Jamaicans that go above 200% in whatever it is that they're doing. Same thing. So in a nutshell, we have been very distinct. So I don't want to give the impression that I was sitting up saying that we black men could go with a few numbers and we just ruin a particular environment for every single body that's there. I don't mean that. What I don't want is for us to ruin it for ourselves because we are distinct. And people who don't mean any harm at times will treat us distinctly. And oftentimes, especially in Southeast Asia, it can be a good thing. They can treat us better than they treat others. But if we turn around and go in like fools and idiots, because we don't listen to the information before we go, then those of them who are the least scrupulous will come and start seeking us out because of how kind we are. We are not to let our kindness and our egalitarianism be used against us either. And we're not to give up kindness and egalitarianism either. We're not to give up this fairness and justice. We will not assume that everybody we see is a peasant from the countryside looking for a come up at our expense. And we're also not going to assume that those people do not exist and that they're not going to look for someone like us either. And one of the reasons I talk about male chastity is so that you can circumvent a lot of this stuff anyway. You're not going to catch up with the Westernisha that got 100 bodies on you when you were down to 2. You ain't going to catch up with her. You don't want to. The results she gets are not going to be nice. How many times does her stank ass have to go to a free clinic in the States to get treated for an infection? Until she finally goes there one day and they find out there's no treatment and there's no cure. She caught one of them permanent bugs and monsters. You don't want those results, and I don't want them for you. But when it comes down to how it is that we're going to move, I got to admit, man, the Black Manosphere has actually called for some of these cultural reforms that we need. So when I tell Muslims of any race, especially though if you're black, when I tell you to at least hear the Black Manosphere out, because you'll know how to filter out what you're not allowed to do anyway. And I'm not telling you to go and listen to them if you don't know your religion. Don't do it then. But if you know your religion, then it is good to at least hear out the points that are in the Manosphere, because you will then hear the focus on the points that you and I need, that our people need. See, the points are laid out in the religion. You will hear the focus applied to those points that you and I and our people need right now when you listen to the Manosphere. Now, when someone starts talking about the reactions, you have to filter them, because we're not allowed to react in every single way. As I've stated, we're Muslim. We're not allowed to go somewhere looking to fornicate. That's not okay. It is not all right. Don't do it. We're not allowed to do that. But when it comes down to driving a hard bargain for the sake of marriage, if you're being met with a hard bargain for the sake of marriage, then, well, hey, look, that's what the Black Manosphere will tell you. Oh, wait, so let me get this straight. So you come from a collectivist culture, and that's okay. It's not wrong. But you telling me that one of the terms is I got to pay this really expensive dowry, and I got to help you look after your family? Okay, bet. Here's what's going to happen. And then you start coming with some terms of your own. You start saying, okay, well, bet, here's the deal. I'll look out for your family, but you're going to cook for my kids from another marriage. They can come live with us at any time. And you can't oppose that, because somebody from your family can come and stay with us at any point. Right? Cool. So that's what's going to happen. And then you move your kids in right off the bat. At least you tell her that they're on their way. Because I'm going to tell you now, I'm letting you know right now, sisters done taught us that. That's not even something necessarily that these other ladies in other places will have taught us. Sisters will be done taught us that. And how do I know? I know because a Muslim woman that was a single mother tried that with my boss back when I was working in Atlanta. She started talking about, she was looking for a husband. She had kids. He needed to be okay with that. And he said, oh, I like kids. And he straight said, I got a child by this white woman up north. That's what he said to her. And she was like, nah, what's the problem? You got a kid? I got a kid. I remember that because this was in the early 2000s. And that man, when she left, that man sat down and said to me, yo, Black, what is the problem with these women that got kids and want a man to not have any kids? And I told him, I don't know. And this is an Indian man. And she was going to try that mess with him. F out of here. It's a Black Manosphere. This is a Muslim man. He wasn't aware of the games that sisters play. But if you already know your religion and then you hit a Black Manosphere, you start hearing about the games that Westernishas play, Western sisters and their white friends. You start to find out that white woman's playing that white man in ways she wouldn't even do to a brother. If she don't like brothers, she leaves him alone. And if she likes him, she don't put him through the same thing she puts a white dude through. If she likes white guys more than brothers, she don't mess with brothers. If she likes brothers more, if she likes white guys, then brothers are in. You'll find out that Latina is hard as hell on Latino men. He's got to be cholo. He's got to be tatted up. He got to be so bad he stays locked up in prison. That's what the hell she's just like a sister. Now, if she likes brothers more, he ain't got to be all that. If she likes white dudes more, he ain't got to be all that. You're finding out that the women that are the most into their own men of their own race are hardest on them because they ain't really into them like that. I mean, you really want to know what it's like to be mistreated. Be an Asian man. Them Asian women will barely even friend zone your ass. The only question with the Asian women is, are you into white guys or black guys? Because the Asian women that grew up in the West can't stand Asian men, whether he grew up in the West or not. They look at them like they're not men. Asian women said that Bruce Lee put testicles on the image of Asian men. There was an Asian woman that said that. Imagine that because you're an Asian man, you got to be Bruce Lee to qualify for an Asian woman. You got to just be able to kick everybody's behind on the planet. Damn, you got to spend your whole life learning how to fight. In order to qualify to date the same woman that a white guy could just show up and talk to. And if she's into brothers, which is probably going to be because she gained a little weight around them hips, a brother can show up and talk to. So Black Manosphere has made us aware of this stuff. Stuff that many of us were able to see, but couldn't be sure that anybody else could see. The Black Manosphere took the gaslighting away from the minds of brothers that sisters were exercising when they were playing these same damn games in our faces all the time. That's why the single moms demanded childless men. They were playing in our faces. And so sometimes, when brothers start talking, when some Muslim brothers start talking about, oh man, y'all spending all this time in the manosphere. Well, here's the thing. I agree that young Muslim men should learn the religion. But if you're not going to address that part of life that is important to them, except to say don't fornicate, dumbass, you left it up to the Black Manosphere to teach them what you were supposed to be able to teach. Those of you who know the religion the most need to listen to the Black Manosphere the most so that you can start proactively filtering from the Black Manosphere so that you can pass on what is Islamically compatible to these men and leave out the parts that are not. Because a lot of Muslim men think that the way to win the game is to go to Colombia or Southeast Asia and fornicate with as many women as possible to catch up with these women back in the West, because and what's the reason they think that? Nobody's talking to them about this problem, but they can look and see even the Muslim women in the West playing in their faces. They can look back and see even the Muslim women in the West getting in the cars with dudes they're not supposed to be getting in the cars with. Getting out later on, walking all ucked up, wiping their mouths out too. Calling up their friends, another hijabi, giggling and laughing about what all they did. This is girls talk when her brother walks by her room. This is girls talk. You need to leave. Hey, I'm just going to the bathroom. Shut the F up. She closes the door. My nosy brother, he's trying to find out. No. The girls talk is some bullshit. And for the Muslims that are not doing this stuff and not living this way, you know someone that is. And unfortunately, they're ruining your reputation too. Because you got Muslim guys that do not trust Muslim women in the West. And I know because I told my son not to. I told him don't trust even the Muslim women in the West unless you know them and their families. Told them don't trust them. It's not because none of them are ever trustworthy. It's because the ones that are don't look different from the ones that are not. The ones that are not do everything they can to look the same as the ones who are, and even try to put on the same affectations. But if you want to see who's really modest and who's not, let a celebrity come into town. Let Adam Saleh come into town. Let him show up at the masjid. It happened when one celebrity went into a Muslim neighborhood in the UK, and the word got out from that neighborhood he was there, and guess what wound up being the case? A whole bunch of Muslimas with and without hijabs were running to where they heard he was. I saw the video. Now, the explanation, the caption underneath that stated why they were running might have been true, it might have been not, I admit. But what the hell would make them come out and run other than that? So the Black Manosphere, not the Manosphere, but the Black Manosphere is filling in gaps that it's not even its responsibility to fill, because of many of us that are Muslim that have decided that while we will discuss things about marriage more than even other cultural groups will, we still will not prepare our men for the damn games that these ladies will play in our mother cuss word faces. And some of us men will go along with it because we don't know it's a game. How many black Muslim fathers will tell a potential son-in-law, you're going to marry her in front of the state? Nigga, what? Why? Do they ask our permission or ask us to record their marriages? Even black church folks don't sit up and go to the mosque and say, well, we already got married, but could y'all at least record it? They don't do that. What we look like going to their courthouses, master's courthouse at that, talking about this marriage, which is our business, we're going to record for you, and it's not for any particular legal reason. Now, if you may have a legally binding reason you got to do it, okay. But if you don't have a legally binding reason to do it, then why? You might need a record so that you can enter another country as a married couple, and then you're not, separated from each other. You might need that. Okay, fine. But what for do you have to go? If that's not the goal, then why do you need to go? And what is dad telling the potential son-in-law that for? So that you can't just get up and run off and leave. What if your wife wants to get up and run off and leave? I mean, what if your daughter wants to get up and run off and leave? You want me to be stuck and have to go through a process if it doesn't work out. Do you want her to go through the same process? Suppose she cheats, dad. Don't get offended by somebody suggesting your daughter would cheat. Almost no adulteress's dad thought that she was going to cheat before she did it. The husbands didn't think so. But suppose she does that. Suppose she just says, well, because the law favors me, I'm not going to sleep with him. Which means she's going to sleep with somebody else. And I'll keep custody of the kids if he leaves and does anything about it. Okay, now she got all these cards in her hand. She's going to use them. And you sit up and saying, you sit up and saying, give away this power and then take care of her. And by the way, suppose she wanted to marry, but he wouldn't come to the door. And she says, Dad, I want to marry him, but he wants you to see him at his house. I'm not going over there. Okay, so he's supposed to come and make the approaches for a chance to pay all her bills from a powerless position. And you're going along with that and going to use the religion to justify that. I want to thank the Black Manosphere. As a Muslim, not because the Black Manosphere is always right. Like I said, it's not even a religion and they don't claim that it is. Black Manosphere is a collection of men that are trying to raise awareness amongst each other and amongst other men about the games played at the legal and social level, especially amongst our people. That's what it is. Every reaction, now, you'll hear me say as a Muslim, every reaction is not going to be the right one. I don't tell somebody how to go to the club and Mac. Not that there's a right way to do it anyway. There's no right way to do it. I tell brothers there is no right way to do it. I tell them, hey, look, don't go to the club. That's what I tell guys. Don't go to a bar. Forget trying to Mac. Don't go there. Go to a restaurant and get your meal if you don't feel like cooking that day and you got the money. But don't go to anywhere trying to Mac, and don't go to a bar or a club where the main attraction is alcohol. Don't do that sort of thing. Don't go to an environment that is that immodest, because if you're there just looking for a chick, she's there just looking for a baller. And you're trying to figure out how to make it work. She's looking for the top 1%. And you trying to get her attention on you so that you can pay her bills for the rest of her life. And I mean, that's really what the reward is. You think if you can take her home and smash and let her go, that you the man. Bruh, they don't let you do that. They make sure they get something out of you one way or another. And one of the ways you can tell this, see, look, when men stop with marriage, when marriages go down because proposals are going down, because men stop proposing, because marriage ain't a good deal anymore, the Muslims could have sat up and said, well, listen, this is what is driving this sort of thing. The Muslims could have done it. It took the Black Manosphere to explain what the hell is going on. And the fact that if marriages go down, that doesn't mean that these women are going to get their minds together. Not in the West. If marriages go down, they just start targeting rich men more in order to try to get the same wealth transfer through the courts in a different way instead of a marriage and a divorce. Instead of a divorce settlement, they just go for something else, like what that white woman named Zoo Nigga did to Shannon Shaw. And the elites fired his ass. after he settled. So he done lost all that money. Now he lost his income, so he can't get it back. Some of them are sitting back, slapping hands with Zoo Nigga and laughing, saying we just broke another buck just because. And what's the reason? I don't think they really needed a reason to target Shannon Sharpe, except that it would have been something that everybody else would have seen. We buck broke him. This is another buck that we broke, and we'll do it to all of you. Because he pretty much wasn't going to be talked into settling for who sisters wanted us to settle for. And that's what the hell that had to do with. I will admit, yeah, it's in the faith that we sit up and tell brothers, don't even mess with these Instagram models and these Instagram thoughts. Don't even do that. They're looking for attention. If they're looking for attention, they're going to look for money. And if they're looking for money, either you're a target that they can get the money out of or not. It's one of the two. And if you have nothing to do with their lust, but they can get money out of you, then they will use you to pay the cost of them fornicating for free with another guy and satisfying their lust. So you can pay them to trick off somebody else or to turn another trick. Yeah, you could do that. But you can't buy her attraction to you, so don't even try it. And that's what the hell y'all are facing. It took the Black Manosphere to start pointing this out to young black boys. Not because we didn't have what it takes as Muslims to point it out, but because we just simply didn't attack that. And it's okay that we gave sermons about other things and other topics. It's okay that we did that. But the minute you get up on that pulpit and you start preaching against inchastity and immodesty, you are going to have to address the other elephants in the room. And that is the fact that even the Muslims, even the black Muslim women, are going to use the system against the men to get stuff for free without working for it. They want the same results as Bill Gates with none of the work. Well, we all want that, but they will demand and expect the same results as Bill Gates without doing any of the work. And will use the courts to get it if the courts let them. And that if anything, your best bet is to take a look at the environment and see if it's going to punish you for being responsible. Well, the legal divorce environment in the United States, in many states, does punish the most responsible husbands the most. You're going to sit up here and tell these young brothers that they need to stay in America and deal with the American black Muslim woman, or the American black woman if you're not Muslim, and make her a housewife so that when she gets bored and smashes the pool boy and cheats with him and then wants to run off, then she's entitled to have. And then if he asks her to sign a prenup beforehand, he's an idiot. But he needs to marry her in front of the state. No prenup, none of that. Do you think that these Muslim wives are not cheating? Most of them probably aren't. I don't know what the percentage of cheaters is just amongst the Muslim women in the West that are married. I don't know, but I know that cheating is a thing. They don't have to come from the States. If they come from Trinidad and Tobago, there's a higher chance of them cheating. You can tell simply by seeing setting a particular boundary. She will set a boundary, you better respect it. You set a boundary, she will test it. That right there tells you that she has a higher chance of cheating than a woman that will not go and test your boundaries just because you set them, while telling you to respect the boundaries that she set. So I'm going to tell y'all straight, man. Yeah, we're sitting on a religion and the faith that has the solution. And I've stated this before, but by the same token, a lot of us are not willing to actually discuss the solutions that are there or even look enough into them. So I'm going to say to those who know the religion more than others, because you know it, start discussing this with these brothers. Start letting them know. Tell them about these games that these ladies are playing their faces. Tell them why it is that we have more of a right to tell these ladies to act like Khadija bint Khuwaylid, may Allah be pleased with her, than they have a right to tell us to act like any one of the Anbiya, any one of the prophets. Alayhum salam. Tell them. Because Khadija didn't have to be a prophetess in order to do what she did. These same women that'll sit up here and with a hijab on will cheat on a responsible husband. These same ones will sit up and tell that husband, well, you know, when Muhammad was married to his first wife, Khadija, he never had another wife. And they will sit up and leave out the part where if she made the money, he got to be a house husband and he was still had a household. And she proposed to him. They'll leave all that out. Oh, that's not a part of the deen. That's not a part of the faith. But then they won't turn around and sit up and say that, then they want to turn around and say that it's a part of the faith to not marry another wife. How do you know that one is a part of the faith and the other one is not? When clearly one is more part of the faith than the other. See, we don't have these discussions right now, and that's part of why it is that you got a lot of young Muslim men who do feel like they need the Black Manosphere. The problem is not that there is a Black Manosphere per se. The issue is why are they left to need it? And that's a legitimate question here. Why are they left to need a Black Manosphere when we have the solution in term encoded in the faith, encoded in the revelation itself? Well, the reason is because those of us who learn these things are not sitting up here telling these young brothers what the real deal is. And some of you may want to ask me, well, who does know? Amu Yum Yum. That's his YouTube name. His name is Imam Saad. You can check with him. Sisters can't stand him. That's how I know he's telling the truth. Plus, he's backing it up with hadith and evidence and verses. He said that he is a recovering ex-simp. He explained this years ago, and he's been dispelling misconception after misconception when you ask him. He told me things about the dowry I didn't know about. So the knowledge is there. And you know what? They're always trying to discredit him. Every time he gets to saying something on his Facebook page, out come the Western sisters, the Westernishas, from the Muslim community that want to sit up and try to discredit everything he says. And he's not even lying. Then they want to sit up and say, why are you even discussing this? Well, I mean, he's got to discuss it, but somebody's got to, because, sis, you ain't going to tell the truth. You're not going to admit to the deceptive games. Even if you don't play them, you're going to, how's it going, sir? Even if you don't play these deceptive games, you're not going to sit up and admit that somebody else does. You're going to sit up and hide that. And so, what's left? These same things you're going to try to keep a secret. These same deceptive games, you're going to do everything you can to keep a secret from somebody else, that anybody plays them at all. And you got the nerve to sit up here and wonder why it is that there's this man who used to be an imam. Used to be. That tells you something about the congregation he served. Not him. It's not a reflection on him. The congregation that he served. Because he's not the only one in his state that had to face this. This man he has a bunch of misconceptions to dispel one after the other. And he's still in the process of, I guess you could say, maybe the beginning of that list, if he had them listed out on a piece of paper, which he probably doesn't have on paper per se, but if he had them listed out, I can tell you that if he has them listed out, here's the thing about those, about the misconceptions. Every time he starts on one of them, every time he starts on one of those misconceptions, the sisterhood comes out. And if they ever say something is true, they're still saying it for a false reason. And that's why it is that the Black Manosphere now has become necessary. They're doing part of our job for us. And some of that is not our fault, and some of that is our fault. But until the day that we take over the whole thing, we left them necessary. We left that gap, and they came and filled it in. And I tip my hat because cats and black manners, I mean, they're the ones that are sit up and telling brothers things that are as close to the message of male chastity as what we could possibly expect to hear. They're saying this. You got some of these brothers that are saying don't even make approaches. They can't respect you if you do. You make an approach, they just hate you even more because you tried. The issue is that we don't have enough Muslims sitting up and saying don't even approach for marriage. I'm not saying to boycott marriage, but we don't have enough brothers that are out here saying to stop even making approaches for marriage. We need more brothers to say that. Oh no, we're not talking about boycotting marriage, but for what reason do we need to be out here why do we need to be out here trying to convince you? For what? What do we need to be out here trying to tell you I mean, why should we be out here trying to convince you and then convince your dad that we're okay? What's the reason for that? But then everything, all the responsibility is on us. And then on top of that, because you're Western, you believe that we have no rights. We got responsibilities and no rights. Because really, when many women combine being Western with being Muslim together, they combine the two. That's what they come up with. They come away with this notion that we got all the responsibilities and none of the rights. You even got men like that. Shahid Bolson of Middle Nations seems to think that way. Like, that's just, it's just our job to have all these extra responsibilities. Assalamu alaikum. So how's everything? Shlona. Alhamdulillah. So yeah, you got a lot of these brothers that think that our job is to just have all these responsibilities and no extra rights to go with it. Just no, get your butt in there and suffer and take care of this and take care of that. And oh yeah, you have there's no consideration for it. No give back. No, it's just you didn't do enough. And so, yeah, of course, I mean, I'm not going to rant too much long about this, but I did want to point out, for the most part, that it's going to take that. It's not really supposed to be. I'm saying this as a Muslim. We in the Black Manosphere are not supposed to be out here able to correct many Muslims about stuff like this. But the reason we're able to correct many Muslims about stuff like this is because the Muslims have just simply not looked into it enough. Some of them want to sit up and say, well, no. I mean, some of them, they just want to make this. They want to avoid being too harsh on the ladies, and that makes perfect sense. Too harsh is too harsh. But what they don't understand is that they're being too hard on dudes that ain't done nothing wrong. They're being hard on responsible men than irresponsible men. But I'm not supposed to be able to sit up here and correct Shahid Bolson if he's coming from the standpoint of a Muslim, and I'm coming from the standpoint of a Muslim, but I'm coming from one that knows about the awareness in the Black Manosphere. And he's sitting up talking about like the whole manosphere is just a false religion, when in fact it's not. I'm not supposed to be able to sit up and correct him about something like this. But he didn't make the choice to actually look into some of these things. Some of those details, and his geopolitical analyses are great. I'll be the first one to tell you, yes, they are excellent. But when it comes down to this, no. He needs to sit down and listen to Imam Saad. Amu Yum Yum. He needs to fuck Chuck up for a while and just hear him out. Just because, okay, he's married and he's a girl dad. He's got 2 daughters, and that's fine. I don't know if he has any sons or not, but and that's okay. But the fact is that I am also a girl dad. And I have to sit up and I have to say some things that are fair to my daughters, but they're not soft to the daughters. And I still have to tell them these things because they're true. I have to say to my daughters, listen, you have the right to be treated well in a marriage. You do. If you're going to return the favor, you have this right and that right, but you also have these responsibilities. And if you are going to sit up here and shirk these responsibilities and if you just want to roll your neck and roll your eyes and show attitude and make that man appreciate you by being difficult, you're going to make that man appreciate someone else who's not. And if you're going to sit up and make all of these demands, you very well might have to be the one to make the approach and make the proposal. And that's not wrong, because you'll be the one sitting back saying, I want X, Y, Z. I'm going to do this little. And you got to come and seek me out to get this kind of deal. Wait, what? So he got to come and approach you and me. Convince me that he's a good dude. And you don't have any responsibilities. No give to go along with your taking. That's what you're saying. I mean, if you drive a bargain like that, you will be sitting at home, because I'm not going to go and ask a man, would he like to meet you and discuss marriage in order to get a deal like that? I'm not going to do that. So you can't even send me after. You can't send me to go meet him. I'm not going to do that. And if he shows up trying to convince us to accept a deal like that, I'm going to be like, yeah, I approve of you for her. I don't approve of her for you. Now, there's a give and take, and you're both understanding of that, then fine. But you see, I'm trying to be fair. And unfortunately, even men who are otherwise trying to be very fair about a lot of things, when they become girl dads, they lose that objectivity. And that's where I have to look at a lot of men and say, stop it. And I look at a lot of girl dads and say, cut that mess out. Don't lose her objectivity because you love her. Retain the objectivity and tell her the truth because you love her. I hope that what I said is a benefit. Sorry for going so long. Thank you for listening. Black Jermaine shall be back shortly, inshallah. As always, black heart, black mind, blackout. Assalamu alaikum, and black heterosexual non-select male power, because they don't like it, and black patriarchy until extinction of judgment day. Thank you for flying with us here again on Jet Black Air, where the phrase jet black is also a verb. Keep jet black with us till the wings and the wheels fall off. Gender, justice, forever.